Sure.
Okay. Well, we're going live. We'll do it live.
Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah. I guess we're live now. Okay, good. Well, okay. Welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. Uh, this one we're doing live because me, Eric Rosenblatt, um, completely spaced editing an episode. So we're doing a live episode instead of a previously recorded one. But yeah, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'm sure if you're watching, you're probably subscribed. Um, I, I doubt there's many people watching live who are not already subscribed. That'd be a miracle, a Christmas miracle.
Yes, indeed, it would be. And I am Casey Rochefort, and normally I would invite you to hang out to the end to hear a song, but we're doing it live. So, wait, did I say live from Tacoma? It's Thursday night.
Oh, I wish
Your host, Drunk Casey.
I don't have a hat, so just have to settle for a flannel.
Yeah, it's about time we did a Christmas themed episode, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically becoming December, which is so wild to me because it feels like just the other day we did the last Christmas episode that we did. And now it's pretty much a year later. This year went by really fast.
Yeah. Did
So
we do a Christmas episode last year? Yeah, I think we did.
I think we did.
Or,
Yeah.
or on Christmas or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did. Well, I don't know. It's so hard to keep track with how many episodes we do. It's like, well, was that last year or like 3 years ago? I don't know.
Right.
Um,
I think, yeah, we're over 250 full episodes. So
that's crazy.
that's a lot to remember. She's like,
It's
I'm like, did I buy that one book 230 books ago? I can't remember.
well, it'd be like remembering people's phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like a human being could probably fathom maybe 10 phone numbers, but to remember 250, let alone all the like the minute microscopies and lightning strikes twice and stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many things I have to reference. I'm very glad that you set up the spreadsheet to kind of track what we're doing because
Yeah.
there are times I think, oh yeah, I'll that's a really good topic. And I look and I'm like, oh yeah, I already did that
Yeah.
topic.
Well, yeah, it's a good idea that like we see data in that way that we're like, this is something that we're gonna want to look back on and think, why didn't I start from the beginning with some way of organizing this?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, like a show based on like his ideas and his drunken philosophy or whatever. Uh
Hmm.
yeah, like that's pretty hard to track after a while.
Yes. So we have to be pretty forward thinking in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of I was just thinking
We
as you
don't
were
want to
talking
repeat
about that.
ourselves here at KSM 103.7.
Wouldn't that be nice to be on the radio? Any radio, honestly.
Well, we could. I've thought
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, there's radio channels that have like
Like,
off-air
yeah,
time that you can rent.
yeah, yeah. I mean that wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at this point we have a comfortable enough banter with the specter of who we know to be the audience,
Mm-hmm.
as if they were sitting right here with us. Oh, you are. Hello.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We're kind of getting far away from Christmas, though, aren't we?
Well, it was kind of leading into the whole idea of the New Year's resolutions and stuff that kind of start to contemplate around this time of year.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
we
yeah.
could talk about that, or you probably have something you want to talk about too.
Huh, yeah. Um, Actually, I did have kind of a cool Christmassy related topic. Um, now that I've moved to Germany and I see like all these additional holidays that people get off work for, and it's always like this saint that was giving and all about charity and like all these good things like that mimic like social programs and stuff and and then how it's all of a sudden like vilified, uh weird stuff like that.
Yeah, man, that
Uh,
interesting how a lot of religions were kind of, I guess, the OG social programs in that regard.
yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Was Christmas a social program?
Could have been.
That's
Well, a lot of people I know, they were kind of,
a good topic.
yeah,
Was Christmas a social program?
it, well, it might be. Well, so a lot of people I know who have gone through tough times, they didn't get any help from the state, but they got help from the church. Um, my coworker, even, he had a church pay for his car to be repaired. Like, I think it was like a transmission replacement, some super expensive thing, just so he could get his daughter to school and stuff, and go to the store. And that, to me, it's like, okay, I can get behind that. I like the idea of small community driven things where people in the community pool their resources to help people who don't have a lot of resources. That's a good thing. I
Yeah.
the big state kind of things, they're so impersonal. If you've ever tried to deal with the state to get any kind of help, like, there was a time, um no, actually, back when we were running the business, um and I thought, well, maybe I should apply for food stamps. There were a bunch of people telling me that, because I think we were paying ourselves like $35 a week.
That
Not a lot
much.
of money. But yeah, yeah. Well, that was when we were a little bit bigger, and so it was kind of expensive. It's like, okay, I can't really necessarily afford to pay all the bills. And one of my friends recommended, oh, well, why don't you apply for food stamps? And I'm like, the hell, fuck that. I am never gonna kowtow to the state. Like, I will not grovel. I would rather die than walk into some office and fill out a form and beg for somebody to help me. Like, no. But I thought, well, okay, well, let's just see. So I did. I went into one of the state offices in Washington, and yeah, they basically made fun of me for having a business that doesn't generate enough income. Yeah, and I'm like, you do realize that the rule of thumb with businesses, right? That you don't generate positive profit at least for 2 years if you're lucky. Um, and of course, they kind of blank stares all around, just looking at me like, as if because I'm running a business, I must automatically be a billionaire or something like that. Um, yeah,
Everything has to go into the minus before it, you know, takes off. So
yeah.
you got
I
to
mean,
get that momentum.
we did ultimately do pretty well for ourselves, but it's like, that little window of time where I was kind of eating top ramen every day, and thought, hey, there's supposed to be this big brother system that's so helpful that I'm paying tax money on and have paid tax money for years, that now it's my turn to draw upon that. And they made fun of me. Uh,
Wow, that's that's heavy.
and oh yeah, yeah. So they gave me a debit card that had $100 on it, and that was it. And said, "Oh, there's your help, bitch."
Wow.
Um, yeah, and so I vowed thereafter that I was never ever going to be in that kind of position again. I would never rely on, like, assume that the state is going to come to your rescue. I will always be self-sufficient. And well,
What if that was just employees being a bunch of dicks for that particular day? Like,
that could be. I wouldn't. I'm not going to assume that all of these systems are equivalent, but that really left a bad taste in my mouth
yeah,
for these systems.
yeah, that's like, I mean, going back to a recent discussion we had about um, like professionalism and how I
Mm-hmm.
think about that. Like, if you're going to go with professionalism, then go with professionalism. Like I may not believe in using it, but if you are using it, like use it right.
Sure. Well, there's what's wrong with taking pride in your position, whatever it is. Uh, Red Dwarf taught me you are not your job. Um, you could be bigger than that, and these people are supposed to be helping people in need, and there are a broad variety of people who land in needy spaces from time to time, and to like mock somebody for being in need, for landing themselves in a particular situation, like, yeah, I, I swore off of that from that point on, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna make this happen on my own. I'm gonna build my own system and never rely on those ever again, because that was bad.
You know,
Um,
I saw a guy today I haven't seen since high school, and we were just chatting, and he was like, "So you live in Germany now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How are you liking that?" I was like, "Oh, I love it." Um, for instance, there's no involuntary homelessness there. Like everybody knows they have access to social programs and stuff. And he looked at me like, and in his eyes, I could see him being like, "Wait, what? Really?" You know, like there was genuine joy that there's a system that is like providing basic needs for people. Like,
well, and how about this? A system that maybe actually more or less functions according to the claimed functionality. In the US, well, there's a lot of tax money that goes into social programs, and they provide pretty much nothing. Um, okay, sure, there's anecdotal things. There's people who do benefit, but there's a lot of people that don't benefit, and we're spending a lot of money on it, spinning our wheels, getting no traction. And here this is where it's like, okay, so as an anarchist, I don't believe in stuff like that, social programs like tax based things that, but that's beside the point, I guess. Um, what I do believe in is the scientific method and sharing information. And I think it's important for these systems to collaborate, to share that information and say, hey, this is working. We're doing this, and this is helping people. Because, like, okay, I don't believe in extortion and tax money being extracted from you, your life being like whittled away for someone else. Um, but if they're going to do it, I'd like it to actually do something good. And so, like, we should maximize that return on our investment, and not just kind of have this whole faith-based system that politicians know best, and they're just gonna, oh yeah, they just say, well, oh yeah, well, we passed a bill that it's called the Child Act or something like that. And they're good with those acronyms. um, and it's going to help children, when in fact it may actually have the opposite effect. Like, I if the system is going to exist the way it does, I would like to see it do positive things. If you're gonna basically take from me, I want what's taken from me to benefit people as much as possible.
Hell, fucking yeah. Like
Yeah.
that that's like perfect, right? Like who wouldn't agree with something that feeds their own basic need?
Yeah.
You know, like if you can recognize that this is a thing you need, and that's a thing that they need as well because they're also human,
Mm-hmm.
well, you shouldn't feel bad about like lending a little to help them.
Which I do myself. I give a lot to charities.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of different charities. Oh my God, you should see my stack of mail from charitable organizations now, asking for donations and stuff. But
Char-
the thing is, like, if
charity
you're,
and tax are yin and yang. Like
mm-hmm,
each extreme is like the exact opposite of the other. It's like you're voluntarily giving someone something unsolicited.
yeah,
Like that's charity. And then tax is like you're on the fence, you know you need this, and then reluctantly you pay to get whatever it is, right?
well, because there are consequences for not paying, that are like not just like, oh, you're going to be able to go about your day, but you might go to prison, or something. And
Yeah, I mean that's the mechanics of it.
well, if these systems provided a measurable benefit, like an observable benefit, I don't think they would have any trouble getting people to donate, to help people. Like, if you could see that a particular program is having a measurable impact, a positive impact on people's lives, people would come out in droves to give, and they would give more than their like allotted expectation by the state. Like, hey, I have a little more resources than other people, I'm going to give more. um you would see that happen, because that is actually how people work. People want to help people, and I think that's a good thing. I would rather see these programs be more scientific and less hypothetical, I guess, where they just claim that this thing is going to do this thing without any kind of evidence. And even if it fails, they're like, oh well, that failed because something, not me. It had nothing to do with me. My idea was great. Like, okay, no, that's not how it works. Um, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Hey, this might be a good point before I forget. Um, don't you have a gift over there?
I do, and you might have one too, that
Oh,
I might have transported over.
well, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, there's a
Whoop, there it is.
yeah,
There it
exactly. Well, why don't you open yours first?
is. Are these what we use, Friday night what we're not going to talk about?
No, no,
You're not pranking me on air about what? Oh,
no, 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 no.
okay, okay.
It's a
So
fun
people won't know what we did. Oh,
thing.
wait, what? Oh, what? There's like a keyboard in a bag.
It's a melodica,
What?
a wind or air powered musical instrument. So it's kind of like a harmonica, but it has a keyboard.
A flute monica?
Yeah, kind of. Oh, Zoom is cutting out some of the audio, but I
Oh,
got some of
good,
it.
because that was crap. I didn't play a good tune at all.
Well, so there's also a tube, so you can like have the keyboard portion in front of you and just blow into it. So kind of like a little bit like bagpipes or harmonica, but
Yeah.
like a keyboard at the same time.
Harmonitar.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Oh, I'm sure if you pass that through some kind of VST plugin or something, like you get some really good sounds out of it.
Oh man, speaking of Christmas, my wife and I we bought ourselves the Eria Touch in
Oh,
July, and we haven't opened it yet. And we're just like, we'll just do it. We kept joking, well, we're a little busy now. We'll just do it Christmas. And now we're actually just like, well, it's close enough. Let's just fucking do it on Christmas. Okay.
make sure you do an unboxing.
And that's exactly what I want to do. Yeah. Because that thing is gonna be so cool.
Oh yeah.
And I bet there's a way to like interface it with this. So I mean, the cool thing about Furia Touch is like you can program your own graphical user interface. So like if you need two hands to do two different things, like you could put that wherever you want. Like like the ultimate ergonomics, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
I'm stoked.
so, so I like the melodica. Um, I I kind of like when I was a kid, my grandma had one. I don't know what happened to it. It was an old student melodica. Um, but that was my first introduction. I never really like I messed with it when I was a kid, but never really did anything with it. I thought it was cool, but the time where I realized a melodica was an awesome instrument was the song Champagne Supernova.
Oh, is that
That's
huh?
a melodica that they're playing at the end there.
Huh.
And I remember I was sitting in a hotel in probably like Arizona in the bathtub listening to music. And I listened to that song and I'm like, wow, this is like the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. This is awesome. I want one of those instruments.
Huh.
So yeah.
That's badass. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, okay, so what I got you is there's a lot of things in there, but it's not like I got you a bunch of presents. Like most of this is just me like bringing stuff over to you from my dad's house that you wanted. So,
Okay, all right.
so
Well,
you're seeing a little bit of show and a little bit of like real life here.
yeah, yeah. So I guess I'll pick up this huge bag that just appeared behind me. All right, I'm gonna do a blind thing. Just reach in and grab.
But what I was gonna say is one of the things I did actually go buy. You know, like
Okay, all right. Well, let's see.
not like I was just like, okay, what crap did my parents leave me here? Oh, I'll give that to Eric.
So there's a homeschool book, which
Yeah,
I like that.
that's a piece of uh KSM history, I feel,
Oh
because
yeah.
that was a book that my dad had because I was being bullied so much that he went to night school to become certified to become a homeschool teacher, just in
Holy
case. Like,
dude.
and that, like if there's one thing, I feel bad I didn't even bring this up at the eulogy, is if there's one thing I'm like proud of my dad for, it was like that, like instilling that in me. Uh,
Yeah.
the whole idea of doing anything to defend education. I feel like it just kind of, I don't know, created my psyche. Like,
And taking care of you too.
yeah,
That's the thing. Like he I actually see highlights in this book. Like
yeah,
he highlighted some stuff. He
right.
read this and was just,
Like
this was a backup option in case all that
now this is tribute to Jerry Rochefort part two, but like,
failed.
whatever.
Yeah.
I just like my dad to keep telling his story, huh?
Hmm.
um,
That's really cool though.
yeah, no, like, uh, yeah, I didn't mean to derail too much there, but
Well, that a lot of people's parents wouldn't go to that much trouble.
yeah,
And that's like, I'm talking like biological parents
yeah.
would just be like, oh, well, you just suck it up, or we'll send you to another school or something. And your dad's thinking, okay, well, we'll just homeschool.
Well, I tell you what, man, like my dad definitely was like undiagnosed dyslexic, undiagnosed ADD, possibly even on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and in just in the last months, I think I've been realizing this. Like he made it to elder years with people thinking the way he experiences things is abnormal and you won't amount to shit. Um, and so, like I'm looking back on all this old stuff, and my dad, to his dying day, had the exact same poor spelling he had in his younger years. Like he never, over 50, 60 years, picked up like how to spell things, because like he just created so many negative associations. I think he was bullied and told me stories about how he was this hero, thinking I need to look tough to my kid so he doesn't get picked on. But he got picked on anyway, and like that had to scar him a little too.
Oh, I can imagine. And to some extent, it might have been a little bit of inspiring you to go beyond that. That's a possibility too.
Yeah, this feels like the real eulogy. Like,
I know. I
like,
know. Oh my God.
like having that like connection moment.
Your your dad was definitely a very, very awesome person.
Totally.
One of the better dads that anybody could ever hope to have. Oh no, okay. Well, I'm gonna go back into this bag before I start crying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's reach into here and
Enough of that estrogen. Let's get back to
grim up. Okay. We have readings in philosophy and human nature.
Oh, okay.
Good
So
story there.
much in the same vein, this was my book from philosophy class in college, which you can't really find around here anymore, uh,
Oh,
from 20 plus years ago. And my highlights and stuff like that are in there. And
yep.
that's
I
kind of
can
a
see
precursor to the show too, because I
underlines and stuff.
flipped through there and I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I was like early on learning all these kind of core ideas for the show.
That's awesome. And those underlined sections are really cool. And
We should create something called the KSM library, and we
Yeah,
find all
I
the
was
books that made us who we are.
I was just thinking that.
Hey,
Like,
LeVar Burton, we're coming to take your throne.
yeah. But you don't have to take my word for it. Dun, dun, dun.
You win the internet today, sir.
Oh man. Well, I actually have a library and I lend books to people all the time out of that library. It's a small library. It's not like a billionaire's library, but I would say it's probably better than one of those because the books that I have are really special. Granted, I don't have that one book.
God.
I don't have that one book that you have though about the mana machine.
And a machine. Ah,
Holy
I've
shit, dude.
I've got the goods on that. How's my smug rich guy?
Eh, pretty good. Yeah, I think it
Pretty
works.
much the same impression as my Elon Musk, but I'm in. Let's not mince words.
Okay, I'm gonna reach down into this bag of the surprise cave. I feel like there's a lot of books here. Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, you'll need that for
Yep,
the Bronco that's been there for
Bronco.
years.
This okay, so here's the thing. Haynes manuals I like better than Chilton's. I miss the old Haynes manuals. So this is a Haynes manual. The
Folks,
way
we
they
have a
did things,
live minute microscopy.
they had it's hard to see.
White balance.
Yeah. Well,
Go
there.
to patreon.com slash
So drawings of things
yeah.
that highlight specific portions of stuff, whereas Chilton's tends to have photographs. And yes, photographs are good, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
Haynes'
I know what
style
you're talking
of
about.
the way they did things had very like detailed drawings that gave you everything you need to know. Um, I do like this in that it has stuff inside, little
Yeah.
bits from the past,
I tell
parts
you
that
what though, you go into biology and it's kind of the opposite. It's like I've seen inside a human cadaver before, and I'm like, this looks nothing like the picture.
you.
What is that? It's all the same color. Like,
Well, so one of the reasons why having drawings helps when you're working on cars is because there's a lot to look at. And when you take a photograph, like Chilton's manuals
shadows.
classically would have a photograph of, say, the engine bay and a little arrow pointing to the thing and vague things. Whereas with Haynes, they drew drawings that ignored all the extraneous things and focused on the stuff that you need to deal with. And that, and maybe there's like a happy medium between the two, where having the photographs on one hand, but the drawings on the other. Because I have been thoroughly confused by Chilton's manuals, uh, and in the modern Haynes manuals that are more photograph based. Like it's super confusing. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And of course, you're dealing with black and white. None of these are in color. So when you have black and white drawings, it's pretty easy to distinguish things and to identify the shape of stuff. Like, oh, that's the throttle solenoid, right? We got that right there. Um,
I don't know if we could show that on YouTube.
exactly. Probably not. Demonetized, I'm sure.
Oh, so annoyed. Oof. Tone it down a little bit.
Okay, so let's see if there's anything left in here. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. This
That's the
might
one.
be the one that you bought.
Yep.
The Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, my favorite commander slash captain in all of Star Trek. Um, well, everybody knows, everybody who knows me knows that DS9 is my favorite Star Trek. And Cisco is, yeah.
Even though you're wrong, that book, I
I'm definitely gonna read that.
need.
I'm curious how, like, what?
I kind of flipped through it. I think there's like, I think it was AI created
Huh?
photos and stuff. Like, what would Avery Brooks look like at age 21 or something?
Well, they have that in the back.
What's that? Barcode or something?
No, no, no. This image here.
Oh, it was, yeah. Sorry, it was behind my pop out chat. But
Oh,
nope,
okay, yeah.
chatting in.
That
Thanks, guys.
he's definitely younger
Mhm.
there than when the show began. Um, that's interesting. I'm like really, really curious to dig into this. Um, oh man, that's thank you. That's super special. Well, and it's funny because I had just finished actually painting my model of uh, well, Deep Space Nine or Tarek Noor, I guess, in the show, um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which turned out really, really well. It took me a ton of time to get everything. Like, there's a lot of detail in there.
Nice.
Um,
Did you do
uh,
a video?
huh?
Did you do a video of it?
No, I just took a couple pictures, sadly,
Uh,
um, unfortunately. Hmm.
that would be cool. One of those like time sped up ones, or
Oh
every
yeah,
100 frames or whatever.
uh, time lapse
Yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
probably should have done that, but I didn't think to do that. So even though I have cameras that are totally capable of doing that.
I got to use up another chrono pellet to go back in time and do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, just go back.
Oh,
When you
shit.
go back, just remind me, like, hey, why don't you set up your
Did
timeline?
anyone hear that? Did you have the mind eraser?
Oh yeah, the neuralizer, I think it is.
Oh shit. Oh, well, how are we gonna put that out over YouTube?
Just go ahead and look right here and hey, that totally worked. Nice. Oh man.
Get
Okay.
you in black.
I love that movie. Like, it's so cheesy, but it's so good.
Yeah, it really
Like,
was. That was like kind of a golden era Will Smith. This is so not a Christmas episode. Uh, oh, I don't do
well,
this anymore.
yeah, yeah. Will Smith was like perfect in that role, and he was the perfect person for that particular role. Um, although you say golden era, but there was also that movie called Wild Wild West, which was absolutely terrible. Um, like,
Yeah, I mean, that's always the way with these guys that just hit it big in
mhm.
popularity. Like they got to do a little of everything, and not everything's going to land on its feet.
No, well, on paper, the concept of Wild Wild West is pretty okay.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that followed on the heels of Men in Black. So people thought, hey, Will Smith, we'll put him in this.
but
It's
then
kind of
Independence
similar.
Day, that was like huge.
Oh, Independence Day. That was a really, really Jeff Goldblum too was in that. Um, that was a great movie, although very flawed, but it's like I can look past all the flaws in a movie to know that a movie is good and fun and enjoyable. It doesn't have to necessarily be a perfect masterpiece.
I mean, I don't remember that one being that. I mean, like hard to suspend disbelief or whatever, right? Like,
Well, aliens invading, I guess.
yeah, I mean, like in the context of a movie, though, like I didn't think it was like anything that critical to the storyline, I suppose. Like,
Well, there were a few issues, but they're easy to look past. That's the thing. Independence Day was a good movie. My only gripe, I guess, with that particular movie is that it was very USA centric.
yeah,
If Earth is being invaded, and they,
I think they show like Paris and London, and then
well, in the end,
yeah,
and like India or something, like if Earth is being invaded globally, and they showed that in the beginning, like, oh yeah, all these major cities, there's a bunch of these big hovering spacecraft just lasering the shit out of everything. If that's happening, it's not going to be the US with a bunch of F-15s going after the aliens. It's going to be the whole planet. And I would have liked to have seen that, I guess. Maybe that, like, okay, well, it was made in the US for a
has
US
has
audience. So
any
it makes
movie
sense.
done that actually?
Huh?
Has any movie done that actually?
I don't think so.
Like, please, let's actually. I just met a guy that kind of like writes movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should like make that movie. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because like that could kind of, I mean, going off this idea of was Christmas a social program? Why don't we make our own social program and inject this idea of like this is a human need too?
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
this kind of conversation, this like once a week diatribe where you like kind of bounce some ideas off somebody who's on this like uh paradoxical fence in the
Mm-hmm.
same avenue, you know, like and yeah, just the meeting
Yeah.
minds.
I would definitely like to see a movie kind of extolling the virtues of getting along, and that, well, hey, if one human is wronged, we're all wronged. We all need to come together and stop this thing, whatever it is. And that would, like, okay, so there's a relatively famous speech that Ronald Reagan gave to the UN, I think, where he said, hey, if Earth was invaded by aliens, we wouldn't be seeing each other as different. We would be like, hey, there's aliens invading. Uh, let's all get together and kick them out. Um, well, that's kind of paraphrasing, I guess. But that's totally true. That there should be a movie like that. I don't want to see like the Western heroes ride in. I want to see every country bring in their stuff in, and their particular unique skills to combat these invading aliens, because that is exactly what would happen. What would actually happen if Earth was invaded by aliens? Like, I don't think well, obviously there would be certain places like the US that would have their, well, they already have a plan in place for what to do for that. Um, but if that plan fails, and they're, well, and it probably, if you're dealing with a spacefaring race that's able to travel intergalactic distances or interstellar distances, yeah, the stuff that we have is probably like pea shooters to them. We might as well be wielding airsoft guns against like a modern army at that point. So we would need the genius of everybody to like all come together to figure this problem out. How do we combat these like evil aliens that are taking over and killing everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. like the feeling that you get when you see uh somebody helping someone else, like does that elicit, a little smile?
I it elicits tears of joy.
Yeah.
Like I find myself so
So
one of my favorite genres of videos to watch on YouTube is humans being bros.
yeah.
And I it's I have tissues up here specifically for that purpose.
Yeah.
Because it like it makes me cry. Like seeing people helping each other, uh, it's a beautiful thing, and people
Yeah.
do that a lot more often than they don't.
And so my point is, if that feels that good, imagine how it would feel if you were the one being that kind to somebody. Like you could see someone actually benefiting from your kindness. And
Mhm.
and it's okay that that feels good because that's reinforcing something we need.
We
That's how
do.
evolution works.
It is actually a product of evolution too, in that human civilization thrived because of the fact that people figured out that trade and helping each other is mutually beneficial. We all benefit from that. Like, sure, yeah, you give of yourself to help somebody else, but in that, somebody may give to help you. And there is no human being. I don't care how many billions of dollars, whatever a dollar actually means these days, how many billions of dollars you have. There will come a time when you're going to need help. You remember Steve Jobs, worth lots of money, I think billions of dollars, died from cancer. Like he wasn't above the laws of biology.
Yeah.
He couldn't defeat that despite all the money that he had. And that actually brings up a point for all the conspiracy theorist people out there that think like, oh yeah, there's this cure for cancer, secret cure for cancer, and they're just hiding it. Like, okay, well, you don't think Steve Jobs could have unearthed that somehow? Like, no, he was he ultimately succumbed to the forces of nature despite all of that money. He basically could have paid anybody to do anything, and it didn't fix him. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again.
Epic.
Oh wait, I guess there might be maybe some more things, maybe or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, oh snap! I see this. Yes, the Boldly Go poster. That okay. So there's a story behind this poster. So this used to sit when Casey and I were roommates, living at Roger's place. This poster used to sit above the toilet in the bathroom, and it said "Boldly Go." Like, and so I noticed that.
You laughed. Yes, you.
Yep. So I want to do that again, like because your dad had one of these posters. Yeah, it was from Generations.
Yep.
Oh wow, that
94.
was 94.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Coming up on 20 years.
Good lord.
30 shit, 30 years.
Oh,
I was never good at math.
I
Finding
know.
all my old report cards and getting all that shame back.
Mhm.
One fell swoop. Like,
Oh.
here's what you sucked at. You still suck at it. Hey, guess what? this year, just like the year before, and the year before that, still sucking.
So what I do like about this is that you'll note it says 11/18/94. So 11 is obviously the day of the month. 18 or the other way around. Okay, well, never mind. So fuck that.
And I'm the one living in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It should be the other way around. Um, yeah. Sorry, too much beer. Getting a little slippery in the mind here.
Yeah, this festive winter ale is a little festive.
Yeah, I guess so. So this poster should read 18/11/94.
Here, laddie.
Mhm. That's awesome. This is definitely going to go in the bathroom. I'm going to make that happen.
And I think this conversation just led to me thinking of the title for the concept album.
Mhm.
I just spoke to evolution.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's good.
That because that's like walking the line between man and machine, and maybe that's the point where like the way machine existed and created their own plane of consciousness suddenly becomes aware of the way we evolved consciousness. and,
Hmm.
and maybe this is like a neural pathway being formed in the matrix.
Oh man.
Ooh, for a second there I understood the matrix. Now I don't.
That's it's a fleeting thought. Oh man. Okay. Well, let's see. I guess I should. This is a big bag. That's a lot of bag right
I
here.
know, right?
Holy shit. What I mean, what was even in this bag?
That's why I chose it. I was like, that's comically large. It totally looks like Santa's fucking sack. And I'm not talking about the one he carries in his pants.
That's a very Rowan Atkinson thing to do. Because he did a bit talking about how something that's larger than it should be is funny, and something that's smaller than it should be is funny, like inherently.
Yeah.
So okay, let's see. I think there's only one thing left. Oh, Altoids, a licorice Altoids tin. I didn't know this existed. Like I no, I but it's usually the mint or the what do they have, the cinnamon ones.
Oh wow.
I've never seen a licorice Altoids tin, so this will have to become an Altoids tin survival kit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the rarity of the flavor in choosing the gift. I knew you do and maybe we should like auction off the KSM licorice survival kit.
It can have like special things that are specific to
Signed by Eric
yeah,
and Casey.
yep, signed and like
Please allow 3 to 5 days for postage and handling.
exactly. Oh, that's really cool. Like, so I love really rare Altoids tins. I did a video a while back about like the micro or the mini tin. It's a little teeny tiny thing that I figured could fit into the coin pocket on pants. I currently carry it in my jacket, but it's like this big. It's really small. Um, but I thought, hey, how small can I make a survival kit? How small of a survival kit can I make? That's
I want to talk about Rowan Atkinson. Like,
Mhm.
how small can I make this survival kit?
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
Oh, that's
it's
actually
ridiculously small. It shouldn't work.
comical. Like, oh, it's now like a joke at that point.
Like, no, that's really the case. Like, people constantly give me shit. Like, do you carry a knife every day? Are you afraid of a bear? Or, like they always have some kind of joke, like, what do you carry a knife around for? And I'm like, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And like it is. I need to I usually need to cut something.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have something to cut something, sometimes you don't. But when you do, you're like, yeah, I got it.
Well, it's like I always have one of these spring assist knife. I always have a flashlight too. Um, Even though yeah, I have a phone, like you could use the phone flashlight, but
It's a little
this is,
weak.
huh?
The phone one's a little weak. I
It
mean,
is,
it's
and
okay.
also
Yeah.
phones are big, so they block your view into things. This thing, well, for one, I could be on the phone and be using the flashlight at the same time. Little hard to be looking at things with a flashlight and be on the phone. I guess if you're on speakerphone or something like that, but yeah, side of a busy highway,
We
probably
just
not.
need to incorporate an eyepiece into the board subunit. Uh, oh, wait. Are we recording this too? We're trying to
Google,
create Borg here. Shh.
just Google Glass, I guess. Like, I discrete devices make more sense. That there's a lot of people who think, well, okay, well, I should rewind a bit. So I have an old tricorder toy from back in the day, and my plan is to make it real. Um, but I don't like the idea of all the stuff being housed in one thing. That like, oh, your sensing devices, your recording devices, your light source, your phaser, your communications, your transporter stuff is all going to be in one little device. It's kind of nice to spread things out a bit. Um, that's my philosophy, but
Well, it's there in the name, isn't it? Tricorder.
uh-huh.
Like a recorder just repeats something back, but when you repeat back the repeat back,
Mm-hmm.
you on the other side have also tested the theory before you executed the command, if you know what
Well, it's also interesting too. Now, granted, we might be a little bit drinky crow at this point, um, but it it's kind of funny they call it a tricorder when I have never seen only three sensors being used. Most of
I mean. But I'm saying, what if the mechanism of it is what they're referring to? Just like you
okay.
say a six cylinder, like
Mm-hmm.
you're referring to something like quantifiable that represents the power.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, one cool thing about Gene Roddenberry and his contract with, I think it was Desilu back in the day,
Yep.
and now Paramount, um, was that if somebody created a real world version of a Star Trek thing, they could legally call it that. So if I created a tricorder, I could call it a tricorder
Hmm.
or a phaser or a starship or something like that. Um, God, I wish I had.
That's pretty important that they did that, actually.
Yeah.
I think because to be able to create that association, recorder to tricorder, like
Mm-hmm.
making quarter almost be like an oft used word
Mm-hmm.
or verb, I should say, like create a new word, because I don't think it is a word in that context.
Yeah. Well, I do like the sentiment because it's very anarchistic. It's very open source. Like, hey, we'll just let people. Hey, if you actually build one of these things, you could call it this thing. Um, well, Gene Roddenberry was a really remarkable, special person that was probably born too early. Let's say.
You know what? Like, I feel there's a void in our pop culture of like clips of interviews with Gene Roddenberry. Like I feel like there should be more evidence that we recognize this in Gene Roddenberry before he died so that we could ask him more about his philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can see the philosophy. Granted, by the time
Luckily,
TNG, well, by the time TNG was going on, he was an executive producer. I think Rick Berman was more prevalent um, throughout that era.
but I
But you
think
could,
I think Rick understood him in that.
absolutely, and you can see it. Like you don't necessarily have to see or listen to everything that he has to say because it's evident from the show. Like the philosophy is there, and I think honestly, it's a good philosophy. It's a philosophy that we should all kind of get behind and evolve and turn into something that's practically functional. Because yeah, Star Trek was obviously a science fiction show. It's kind of fantasy. It didn't wasn't real necessarily, but it could be real. And not only that, but even TOS inspired many people to go into to work for NASA and become
Aeronautics.
astronauts or technicians or things like involve themselves in that field. And that is amazing. Like
Huh. Yeah.
that is so amazing because there's a lot of people who are like, oh well, what's the point? Like, oh, you're just like going up into space and stuff. And it's like, no, the point of this is furthering humanity, making humanity recognize their position and bringing people together. That's the important thing. And that I think is kind of Gene Roddenberry's vision, is that everybody would ultimately be brought together in some way.
Huh. I wonder if everything you can imagine is something that is guaranteed possible to achieve
Mm-hmm.
because it's maybe like seeing into another dimension where the way you think things should go actually did play out, and you just got to find the right harmonics to get in balance with that line, let's say, of like pleasurable feedback loops.
Yeah. Well, there's the like multiverse kind of theory of things. I feel like we shouldn't get too caught up in that
Yeah.
because ultimately it comes down to taking care of each other. That we're all stuck here on this dirt ball together. Um, and no matter how different people are, we're a lot more similar than we are different. Um, and well, when the chips are down, when the shit hits the fan, it's going to be important for us to work together and know how to do that. And if we don't have practice, well, when the aliens invade, we're going to be fucked. Like we really will be.
I tell you what, people, if you go and watch all 250 plus episodes of ours from start to finish. The harmonics played at those exact times will open up a space-time continuum.
Mhm.
Will transport us to the promised land. Give us your money. That's not a cult, is
I was gonna say trying to start a cult, eh?
it? Disregard. Disregard.
Oh, that's something we should actually talk about at some point.
I think we did once, but like it wouldn't it be funny to like, well, maybe not so funny. I was But I was gonna say to like to try to create a cult just to say, hey, look, um, we just did that. See how easy that was. Don't anybody do anything crazy. We just
Yeah.
want to prove a point.
Well,
Like
so there is an educational lesson in that if you create a cult, which is surprisingly far easier than most people would think,
right,
um, you can educate people on how to prevent themselves from being sucked into that. Um, like as long as you don't get too caught up in the power, you don't really have any power. Power is elusive. It's not really a thing.
the
Um, yeah.
yeah, yeah that yeah. I have the power.
Oh, I wish we
Held
had.
aloft my mighty sword.
I wish we had. I wish I had that clip. The interrupted transformations, I think it
Oh
was with
god!
He-Man, where he's like, I have the
Oh my
like
god!
that's
Okay, so so in Germany, the car license plates they they abbreviate them based on like the city you live in, and we have GL in our area,
mm-hmm.
and somebody had UB next to it, and I was like, oh, when I come back around, I'm gonna take a picture of that, but they were already gone.
Oh.
Like I was gonna send that to you because it was like globe, globe, globe. By the power of globe, globe, globe.
I think the whole point is like we should take inspiration from people who have come before. Gene Roddenberry creating Star Trek. Like his vision was very forward thinking.
Yeah.
You had various skin tones of people getting along together, just serving together. You had Russians and Americans working together. It at, at the peak of the Cold War, no less. Um, like Chekhov was, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and everybody was just kind of like of the same mind, like, hey, exploration and well, fucking green ladies, I guess. That's a thing. Like, I could get behind that. Um, but exploration and togetherness and peace, and that's a good message. TNG took it a step further. It was very much focused on science and peace and people pooling their resources and stuff that
Sex and trade.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the only way we're gonna get along. Like if aliens came down to this planet, I'd be like scouring my house for things to trade with them and then finding my slinkiest outfit. um like they're probably not going to invade at that point, or if they do, it'll be a really fun invasion. uh,
Oh wow.
well, I think we're a little bit over an hour, so I think we're just about out of time. That's all the time we have for today.
Yes, I do say that's Sounds just peachy, old chap.
Well, now we have Floyd coming up here. Oh, geez. He's checking out that bag. Oh, God. He's in the bag. Oh, no.
This is a pretty big Gottschalk's bag.
It's like, oh, man,
I'll make it mine.
that's a nice sack. A cat could totally get into that. Oh, Floyd. Okay. Hey, hey, man, come here.
Anybody still watching? Do you remember Hacky Sack?
Oh, yeah.
Hacky Sack. Hack
I
it
remember that.
up.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay, well, I might have to pee a little bit. So I think it's probably a good time to
Need to
call
get a
it
litter
a
box like Floyd there.
yeah, that'd be nice. Demonetized.
we 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 get so big that we can't crank out like material fast enough, so they have to give us litter boxes so that we really don't have time to piss and shit. Just have to keep talking.
I honestly I would love to get to that point. Oh man. Well, I think we've uh we've rambled on long enough. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for sticking it out with us and have a good night. Oh, thanks, Zoom, for shifting everything up there.
Up where?
Yeah.
Up there.